All right, so I'm going to show you something here that I call like good, better, and best. Basically, what I'm doing with AI is I'm like tricking it into like writing something that like writing something and then writing something better and then writing something better than that. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of instruction here and basically I just created this enterprise design strategist, just deliver strategic professional insights through analytical enterprise design communication. It made that up actually. I didn't even tell it that. I just told it that it was a enterprise designer. So I'm going to basically say, all right, I need a button. Create a button for my website, to submit a form. Just the button, nothing else. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to start there, and I'll show you why. Because what I'm doing is I'm going to tell it to create a button, and I know it's going to create some kind of a button. I don't know what kind of a button it's going to create. But I know that it can create a better button than what it's creating. Okay, really generic button, right? All right, so I'm going to say to it, I'm going to tell it, okay, this button is, we're going to label this exact button as good. Then below it, create a better button and label it better button. Below that, you are going to create a good, better, and best button. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say to it, we're going to prompt it, we're going to say, we're going to give it some just like, I'm just doing that as like separate, okay? And I'm going to say, your job is to, for each iteration, improve the previous button using best practices, modern design, and trending on Dribbble. I just like to use that. I don't know why. It's just sometimes it works better in my opinion. But that comes from years of creating imagery with AI. You need like use this lens, use this this artist, use this this site for what it might have in its neural net. So basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to trick this into, so it had that normal button, it kept that, all right, and so it gave us this other button. I don't know how that's better. I don't know what it did that made that better, maybe bigger. Okay, so now we got a little effect going on. That's cool, right? So okay, so now move our best button to the good position and give us better and best buttons. And then what I'm doing is I'm telling it to like move this concept up the chain and just keep giving me like 3 buttons, 3 buttons, 3 buttons, 3 buttons. And I like to do that because I don't want the context window to get so big that what happens is it reduces the quality of like what it's going to put out. Like once it starts to get like up to around like 300 lines of code, and that can vary like if you're doing JSON or whatever. But with this, like Tailwind's inline CSS with like React and TSX, you're I think it's a little bit heavier. I think it's keeping track of like types. It's keeping track of a lot of, okay, so here like it has some like dark mode fault and there's some effect that's triggering all the buttons. So I'm going to say that better, I'm going to tell it best did not become best. It needs to do it again. Do not add backgrounds. Only focus on the button itself. And then what I'm doing is I'm just saying, okay, and fix best, and now best is good. Even though I think better is, the problem with best is you can't see the text, and the effects are triggering all the buttons. So continue the process and make the greatest buttons you've ever made. So I get to a point where sometimes it will like overfit itself, and I've had this. So I get to a point where it overfits itself, and it starts to actually like not create better buttons. It's really like trying to compensate for like, okay, by better, it for some reason or another thinks like more code is what I believe is happening. And so it's like, okay, well, I need to start adding this back. You saw where it started adding the background. It starts adding, gradients. It starts, okay, this is a cool button. That's okay. I like this one. And there's our plain one. So you can see like, this is, okay, now there's one thing we could do with this. This is pretty cool. So now I need a cancel button. This is a cool one. Now I need a cancel button that requires me to hold on the button for 2 seconds before submitting, and shows a loading in the button. Create them with dark mode and make 3 amazing buttons. Use this as a template to create great buttons. And then basically what we're doing is like, by telling it like this, like giving just some of these like extra, continue, success, that sort of thing, you're giving it like this bigger context to work with of like, okay, if you just ask it like, give me a button, it's like, okay, here's a button. But it's like, okay, well, what do I add to the button? What all features do I need for that button? And so, I mean, it seems so simple, right? Like, just like, oh, I can just create a button. Well, yeah, but the thing is like, what kind of a user experience are you getting with that button? And that's kind of the question, is like, well, what does the button actually need? And so this is kind of playing with it like this is how I actually discovered like maybe there is a better cancel button. And then that better cancel button has a like a delay to it. So let's see if this, look at this. Like, how everybody's like gives you the window with the pop-up, and it's like, are you sure you want to cancel this? It's like, you can't fat finger this. Because I mean, if you're fat fingering this, like there's a problem, because basically you're having to hold to cancel, which makes so much more sense, because it's like, okay, yeah, like give me like for 2 seconds, a person can do like, okay, I want to cancel this. Sure you want to cancel? Yeah, it's like, I want to cancel. Or they got to go to the window, or it's like, hey, we're going to cancel. You can still notify them, but it does make it a little bit safer if you do have to absolutely have that conversation with UX, where it's like UX doesn't want to get rid of the cancel button. Like the designer like insists that it's there, or the stakeholder insists that it's there. You could do a delay like this so that it's like a little bit harder to click. Or like the clear the form button, where they have to like clear them, and nobody's going to accidentally bump this and go, oh no. You have that delay. So this is kind of a cool discovery I got out of like, like, okay, these are cool buttons. Make me like 3, let's like tell it like, okay, we know what a great button is. Okay, we've created great buttons. Now give me 4 buttons with the same greatness, let's call it greatness, and make them different, serve different purposes on a form, serve different purposes on the form. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to get it to be like, hey, we need a form, we need a button, we need great buttons for our form. I don't know what a great button is. I don't know how to, this is the idea is, yeah, you might know, you can tell it all you want, but you can ask it, hey, like, how can I improve on this button? What could I do to improve on this button? And these are some tricks that you can do to like optimize your output here. See, we're getting like, this is like, you know, where you're not just taking a button. And these are most likely, I believe this is all shad. So it's like, it's using shad here. Okay, so there's a save button, submit, kind of fun, and cancel. I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to like say, you know what, this is good, but okay, I'm going to tell it like, this is only good. This is only good. We had concepts in our previous chat that were great, but for some reason you left those concepts out, including cancel button. And maybe it's like, well, you know what, you probably just need some standard like submit, this sort of a thing, right? Like those look nice, like they're nice buttons, but they're not, you know, they don't have like, what's the like over the edge, like over the top, like what makes it like a cool, unique, you know, user experience where it's like, oh wow, that's great use of the cancel button, or has some kind of over the top additional you know, considerations that we're going to put into place here to make it so that this codes in a way that, you know, gives us something like, okay, like I could show that, right? I could use that. Like this wasn't even, I didn't even give it a design guide. So it's basically like going with kind of this like standard colorization, which is dull, like that, like this. Yeah, see, no, these are huge. So, okay, so success, save. Okay, save. Like these are actually, you know what though, is like hold to reset. That's cool. Hold to cancel. I like that hold to cancel. It's like real. Okay, yeah, you gotta hold it to cancel. Like, you know what, you're gonna cancel something. This is good for like, hey, are you sure you want to cancel your membership? Hold it to cancel. So that could be useful. So I'm gonna do like I'm gonna say like yeah, but I need in dark mode with awesome gradient effects. I also like this it's a glass. Glass is cool. And any other modern cool effects that sets good apart from world-class designer. And then like I'm telling it these words because it's searching through trying to figure out, okay, like what is world class? Like what is cool? Like you have to be careful with cool, because cool could be like he wants like cool blue, right? Glass is cool glass, cool like blue glass. And so it's going to be like, oh yeah, all right, you want dark mode, but you want blue. You want cool like water cool, or you know, like I could be like, oh, it's modern fire effects versus cool effects. Like sometimes it's taking this stuff literally. You have to be really careful with that because it's really affecting the way that you're prompting. And I do this and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have called it cool. I should have said, you know, glass is a nice feature to have in your UI. It just, there's certain places it's used that it looks really good. And it's like, oh, you want watery glass. So it's like, sometimes it will overdo that and it'll take that literally. So we had a bug here. You could see like it was doing something because it was getting pretty involved in its coding process, but it failed. So I'm going to have to tell it to try and fix this. And what I do like about what they're doing at Claude is I think that they are doing this like, they didn't do it in this case, but I've seen it where I think they're doing like sed. And you see that with open hands, where sed is basically making these processes of these rewrites a lot faster because it can just find the mess and fix it versus having to like rewrite out everything into your context window. And that's what's happening here, I believe. So my chat is actually like the chat. It goes like it's like a curve. I think it's like a hill, where it's like you get to the top of the hill, and then once you've gotten to the top, like you don't realize when you're at the top of that hill before it just like the quality of it starts to come down, or it like starts to there's only so much context window that you get in a chat. So all of this is like taking up memory, and it's trying to use it to be like, hey, like, oh, here we go. It's trying to use it to say like, hey, like, what does this guy want? and what does this guy need? And so basically it's then, there's other like chat programs I think that are better at the summarization and keeping track, but Claude will just like eventually just tell you like, hey, you're going to use up all your tokens with these bigger chats. You need to like not have bigger chats. And some of these, like I saw one, it was Open Router, and Open Router has it so that you can be like, well, I only want to keep like 10 of my, historical messages as context. The rest you can just drop. I think that's a smart approach, but I don't think very many people understand it. That's why they're not doing it in these like the user-facing applications like Claude or OpenAI. And the reason I don't think they're doing that is because what's happening is it's like that's a lot to understand, right? Like, do I want to drop off 10 of my? No, why should I? What? I thought you were like learning everything that I just did. That's why you want to be really careful. Like in here, if you're like create buttons, and then you're like create a form, or you're like create a button, and now hey, debug this code for me really fast. Okay, let's get back to our conversation. Because these can get pretty confused pretty fast. And if you don't, you won't realize it until it's like, oh, wait a second. Why is it? Oh, no. Because it's like, you might have given it a bug from, like next 13 or something. And then now you're going to give it some prompt and it's going to be like, oh, are we supposed to be doing this in next? And so it's like, it'll, come back with like this kind of like, oh, wait a sec. Do I need to separate that from what you were telling me before? Or do I just need to continue to basically go on with this existing prompt? And that's one of the struggles that I have with these different systems and bouncing back between these different LLMs is basically like these types of things. So let's see here. So this is another trick that you could do. I'll show you another time. See, these actually came out really cool. Like you can see that these are different because these are different in the sense that when you look at the way that they're just interacting in the effects, like around this border, this border area here, and then this, you see here how you have this kind of like wave effect going into this. It's like this kind of glassy kind of graphic where it has this. You really see it on the red. You can see it at the end there. It's just a little bit lighter on the tip of this, so it's like when it's running across, it's like it gives it kind of this like. Where it's like almost like washing a window, right? Where it's like there's this line following. It's just a really cool effect. I hate this font. I think that we could do better with these. Well, they gave us different fonts for each one of these, so that I guess we can't complain about that. Just give us something different to look at. But this one's got some weird. This one, like these big buttons. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, but maybe that's like something that's like trending. I missed that one, but this is, there's some like kerning or whatever on some of these that are like really off, and I think it could do a little bit better, but I can take this and I can take this. This is fun, so I'll just show you because we're here. So let's do this. Let's go to this code, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this code and I'm going to copy it, right? And I'm going to go and I'm going to ask, because this is so long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just say, let's go with new chat here. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, just give me natural language feedback. Just give me natural language feedback on how to improve these buttons. Only the buttons. Oops, only the buttons, not the background. And so what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to see like, oh, hey, like, forget about this, because I don't think Claude has the memory of the previous chats, like ChatGPT, where ChatGPT is like, I'll be talking about something and it'll be like, oh, based off your previous chats. And I think that's why they have that private chat in there, because they enabled that, is because like sometimes you don't want like your other chats to be affecting what it is that you're trying to ask questions about. And I wish they had a little more control over that. I do like this, like, all my chats are new chats. I do wish they had that where it's like, there was like, separate this chat from like, don't, dip into my chat history. But the chat history stuff's nice too, because it kind of starts to like, I think doing some like rag on all that, where it's, semantically searching over your past chat. So one of the things that I want to show you here is I want to say like, okay, cool. So this is basically like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to say anything else, right? Anything else. So I'm just going to give it like more because we're in this and it's going to use this context going down, but it doesn't know that I'm going to tell it to do it. So I'm going to tell it like, mobile first. Okay. So I'm going to just say like, okay, let's see here. Do the most important. Do the most important changes. And then what I want you to do is I want you to do the most important changes and make this that much better based on your instructions. And what I'm trying to do now is like, I know it seems like we're just beating up these buttons, these poor buttons, but I just want them to like, I just really want to like them to like hit. And I don't think they've done that yet. Like, I just don't think that they've like really come to where it's like, oh yeah, like I want those buttons. But it can get there. It's just, see, what happened is in that last one, we went for a little bit long, and then what happens is it takes that and it starts to, I think the quality starts to degrade. And so when you put it into a new window like this and you ask it like, hey, what do you think is wrong with this? Well, now it's like, it's really having to like spend its energy to come out with that condensed explanation of what it needed to do to change that. And then it's going to say like, oh, okay, like here's see what it did. Oh, I need to be able to view it, and it didn't do that. Okay, I need to be able to view it. So it didn't do that. I don't know why. I hadn't seen that. I've seen it as happened before, but I don't know why it did it in this. I'll create a viewable React component. So I do like this, that it's using React. I think that's a big plus. But you can get it to do some other things, and I'll show you that in another video that are really helpful. Some like mermaid charts, animations, several different like tricks that you can do. And this is just basic. This is basic like chat. This isn't agentics or any automated coding or debugging or that sort of thing. Like, this is just basically like setting out like your core components that you would want to use to build a site. And that's one thing I'm struggling right now with. See, it actually cut one of our buttons out. So this is supposed to be, it's like suggested better, but I don't see that much improvement. I actually see kind of a little bit of maybe not as good. So this is that whole like potentially overfitting. And what I might do is I might actually, like, if I really want to like keep going with this, I would give it some more specific instructions. Like, I might even dump in some of my CSS library. But I wanted to show you how we went from, this kind of clunky button to this better button here. Let's go back to our previous one here and take a look at this and just kind of like do a small recap. So we're going from this button to, to see here. Let's do a quick recap. Oops, do we have a bug there? I don't remember that. To this. So, I mean, that's, I think, just you're just creating a regular button, doesn't do anything but like saved. Okay, you did save it. Oh, cool. You have that like extra layer of development that you didn't have to do, and you had kind of a visual. And then you can even take those specific buttons out of here if you'd like, and you can see. I think our new ones are a lot nicer even than some of the, like that glass and some of that added a nicer touch to, depending on what you like. Added a little bit nicer of a touch, but you got some of this. It's just, I think what happens too is if you're asking it to just focus on one button, like, it gets pretty crazy. I've had some other sessions where I've just done this, and this is stuff like, it really tries to compensate for you know, when you're asking it to go better, big, better, best, better, better. And you can even do that, like, hey, make this button better, and just use one. I like to do like tell it 3 like that, because then it kind of gives it some, you know, it keeps the context inside of that existing request. Whereas if you tell it like, okay, those buttons are great, that button's great, make it better, make it better, make it better. It's like got this one reference to go from. It's like, okay, you want it better, but you know, when it has 3 like that, it's like it really has to like work down the line to like make that better. So yeah, so that's fun. I really enjoy that. And so yeah, thanks for watching.